related, though.
It's work related.
So talk about let's talk a little bit, I guess maybe we can get a little nerdy about it and talk about where you get your music from now online. Like what are your primary sources?
There's a number of blogs, there's like a meta blog that kind of pulls from everything else, but then I still go to all these specific ones, and just and even Facebook. I mean, I follow labels and artists on Facebook, so you're constantly getting their new releases posted. And I go every day. I probably spend about an hour or two a day looking at blogs.
And is the aggregator Hype, right? What is the aggregator you talk about? Hype M, right? So that's a place that you told me about a while back, and I don't always think to check it as regularly, so I'm pretty bad about that.
I'm just in the habit of every kind of day doing it, and then and at home I go and then I start trying to find try good files of the songs and where you can get them.
And then what kind of organization do you use iTunes at home to kind of like make playlists for different nights and sort of or at least collect a bunch of music and say, I think I want to try.
I have a playlist each month. That's where I dump all of just random songs in. Like I still buy albums for artists, but not really for DJing. But I organize those by the artist and the album. But I just dump these monthly playlists of all of my DJ stuff, and then from that I start pulling over those songs into a larger DJ playlist that I use for all of my nights.
So you don't have like one folder for Boyfriends and one folder for Fur and Gold?
No, no, because and when it first started out they were more different, but now I do there's a lot more overlap.
There's more overlap. You do more clubbier sounding stuff at Fur and Gold than you did.
Right.
And Boyfriends has always had a more club friendly sound. So yeah, I can see where there'd be more overlap there too.
So now, I just have one playlist, and then if we do a theme night, I will make a separate playlist for that, so you can just dump, like we're going to have an all Kylie night, which we've done at Fur and Gold 2 years ago, and it went really well, and she has a new album coming out, and actually I thought and it comes out the week of Boyfriends, so I thought that would be perfect, sort of do that again. So I have that issue. I'm a very visual person, so I need to see it, and so for both, or anytime I DJ, but especially Fur and Gold and Boyfriends, I create a monthly cheat sheet. It's kind of what I call it. It's a 1-page of songs that I want, like it's not just new stuff, it's old stuff too that I think of, and I'm like, I need to pull that back and put it with these new songs, and I make this list, and it's not a playlist at that point. It's just it's so I can look at it and then go find those songs in my library, and I do mostly stick to it, and then you get requests. So those and I do usually get about 5 requests.
Now, we didn't talk much about requests. Requests can be a really great thing to get you out of a jam sometimes. Actually, last night we had the best time. Last night, I have to say, we discovered that sometimes a sing-along is like the best thing you can come across, and somebody requests the right thing at the right time, and it can make a whole.
I'm pretty fortunate about it's rare that I get. You do get requests for stuff that. If I just don't have it, I don't have it. Like, there's not more to discuss.
Do you feel guilty about not having certain things?
No, because I'm not a jukebox. I mean, I spend a lot of... I have so much music, and I spend so much time finding it that I don't feel guilty at all when I don't have it. But I can always get it for the future. Right.
See, sometimes I do feel bad when I don't have something, because I think it actually isn't a bad request, or it would fit with the night that I'm doing. I just don't have it.
And I do. I had... we did kind of an 80s themed Boyfriends. And there was a request by some guy that wanted 99 Red Balloons, like the German version or something. He said that would be a perfect ending to the night, and I was like, that would be a perfect ending for the night. And I have it on vinyl, but I had not ripped that to MP3, and so I thought I had, and I was looking through all of my stuff, and I thought that really would have been perfect, and that was a request. And you do get those requests that just seem, that they came out of the sky for you.
But what changes now is that people come up to you sometimes and they hold up their iPhone.
Yes.
And they literally think you can plug in their iPhone and play the song because they have
play it from YouTube.
Or that you can play it from YouTube. You can look it up online and play it off your lap. Like, they don't seem to understand that there's a whole architecture of software or other things involved in terms of, like, being able to... So we're not really at that point. And I wonder, like, do we ever want to be at that point where we have no excuse for... not playing something, because sometimes you're glad you don't have something, because then you have a legitimate excuse for not being able to play it.
There's a little bit of a barrier.
There's a barrier.
Right.
And if we get rid of that barrier where everything is available just by pulling it out of a cloud.
Well, then at that point, I think an algorithm can be your DJ and not a person. But you need the person.
You do need the person.
Right.
To say yes or no.
Well, yes, and that's the thing is I actually, every time I DJ now, I usually get several, I would say maybe just 3 or 4 requests, and usually sometimes they're people who, well, a lot of times they're from people who are regulars at the night. So that's an ideal request, because not only do they kind of know maybe what the both of us might like, but they kind of know how the crowd might react to it. And I think most of the time they're spot on, and it works really well. And it's something I just had not thought of for that night, and those go really well. And then sometimes you get random people who don't know the night but still make a really good request. And I actually feel pretty fortunate that I get mostly good requests.
But last night we talked about this, people with no situational awareness who will ask for salsa or something.
And I've had people that come to boyfriends and ask for salsa, and I'm thinking, what about this night says salsa?
Right.
That just seems clueless to me. But
there are people
I just
who
try
just
to be
don't
nice.
really hear where they are.
Right.
Yeah. Right.
It makes no sense.
Right. So, okay, so that's interesting, because I'm thinking about this now, about, whether or not the importance of having a human in that booth or behind that deck or laptop or whatever to say yes, no, yes, no.
Or to make a, like, my thing is, I don't like to just say no flat out. I might make a counter offer, because if I know I don't have something,
right,
I try to think, well, what is similar to that? Or I'll ask them, what is, and I might say, this night is bigger on Robin than Rihanna. What, do you have anything that's in that vein?
Right.
You try to negotiate a little bit, but also not too much, because you're working.
Right.
And it takes a while.
Right. And also because, I know some people who think that they just wouldn't even think of going to a DJ and asking for music.
And some people would never think of not going to and asking for it. Like, that's their thing.
Yeah. But I think it's the human element is probably what's most important about that, because otherwise you can get replaced with an algorithm or a jukebox. That's essentially what we're talking about, right? Is that you remove the human gatekeeper, for lack of a better word, out of it, and that's just somebody putting a quarter and playing whatever they have.
But people don't realize that if it went all that way, like, the night wouldn't be as dynamic, but they would lose the ability to shape it too.
Right.
In the same way that you can ask. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think my thing would be, my suggestion is for people, you can make requests, but make an educated request and go and hear what the DJ's doing, and don't think that because you heard it somewhere else that this DJ is going to do that. Like, you need to see what they're about.
Right.
And they might surprise you in ways you hadn't thought of too. But and the funny thing is, the rudest people are always the ones that have the least commitment to the night. They maybe just walked in the door with their coat still on with the request, or they're leaving. And so they're like, they want to hear it before they leave, and we're like, no.
My all-time favorite is when people say, I'm going to be leaving soon, so can you play this before I go? Right. And I'm just like, that's supposed to be an incentive to get me to do it?
Yeah, they're the people that are least committed to the night anyway.
So talk about the last night of Man Ray.
The last night of Man Ray was, I think it was a Saturday night. And so, but the thing is, Man Ray had so many different communities, and it was like an umbrella club with a lot of different groups. And there was God Fetish, gay night, mixed night, kind of a, Euro night. So it was trying to please all those people. It was destined, it was like a crazy shit show kind of a night. As I remember, it was way too crowded for me, but everyone kind of felt like they needed to go say goodbye to the place. But it was crazy in the sense that it was all those different nights thrown into the mix together. Whereas normally each night, fetish night was one night, goth night, gay night.
So it was a real collision of every sort of demographic that would kind of go to that night.
So it was crazy.
Tears.
Yeah, there. I don't remember if I cried.
It had to be some people.
Maybe not there, but maybe by myself. But yeah, it was, and I think we all still now when we talk about it, everyone feels so much nostalgia for Man Ray, and it is one of those things where the people that never got to go to it, and the people that did even make it seem even more epic than it maybe even was. But it was just a really special place, and it it was very intimate, and it had all those specialty nights.
Right. So, speaking of too crowded for you, this is something else that I meant to talk to you about. which I've always found kind of an amusing sort of irony or something, that you yourself really don't like crowded spaces.
No.
You've never liked very crowded spaces.
Oh, I don't remember that it always bothered me as much as it did, but probably in the last 10 or 15 years, I realized that I did kind of have like some crowding anxiety. And I think the first places I noticed it, like Club Cafe in Boston, Club Cafe on like a Thursday night, which was its most crowded, but that's where everybody went. And I remember at some point I just couldn't handle it anymore, and I would always just find myself gravitating to the edge. And that became a thing for a while. And then DJing, I think I liked, like at parties and stuff, I could be over in the corner doing it, and I had something to do. So, but yeah, I do have like crowd anxiety.
But DJing, but the nights you DJ, it's not as bad. Is that right? Do you feel more comfortable at your own nights, or do you still feel a little bit of crowd anxiety when you're
No,
there?
I do feel comfortable in my own nights, thankfully.
Because you're spending a good part of it on the outside by DJing, so you're not really in the thick of it.
But then there's the part when I'm not DJing, when we alternate, or we have two DJs that I'm, can mingle, but it doesn't bother me as much. But I think I still wouldn't like to be stuck in the middle of a packed room.
Yeah.
I kind of like skirt around it.
Yeah, yeah.
But it is ironic, I know, that I have crowded nights but don't like crowds.
Yeah. Yeah, and you still have, when you go out to other nights, sometimes the crowd get to you a little bit still.
Well, but I actually manage it. I learned how to manage it over the years. I always go early. I'm probably like the earliest person that arrives at any night, because I have found that if I get someplace and the crowd builds around me, I'm better than having to penetrate the crowd.
Penetrate a crowd.
Yeah, I just can't do that. I can't walk into, even this happens to me in New York a lot. There's only a few bars that I really like in New York, because most of these are small, packed places. You open the door and there's a wall of people. I can't go in.
Yeah.
I just can't even go in.
Right.
So I go, even nights here that I'm a regular at. I just go very early, and then I can kind of ease into it.
Ease into the night. Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, it's something that's taken years to learn how to manage.
Right. How long do you think you'd want to DJ for? Because this is sort of becoming like this.
That's a good question.
What's happening now is, it's been kind of like rock and roll people, right? Like, how long are the Stones going to tour, and how long are how long are DJs going to be considered viable, or do they want to be considered viable?
Right.
I mean, Bruce is a little older than you, but he just got into it and has a really good time doing it, and his age doesn't seem to impact it really at all. So how long can we go on and keep doing it?
That's a good question, and I even think for myself, it's how long will you have the motivation to do it? Because it isn't just this glamorous thing of just showing up and playing and everyone loves it. It is, I'd say, it's 90% work and 10% DJing and music.
Right.
It's so how long will I have that motivation to put all this into? But I'm interested in other things too, and I always think, and I'm really into film and film festivals, and I volunteer at film festivals, and I like that. So I almost think, and that that has more like age longevity,
right? And
so I think I'm always thinking, when I do that, so that when I finally get tired of DJing, maybe I just transition into that.
Yeah.
So I try to keep those things going.
Yeah, but you're not tired of DJing at all right now.
No. Yeah, I like my nights now, but it's all. You never know with nights.
There's a weird addictive quality to it, though, like you said to me last night. Once you start to get a certain amount of response for your DJing, you kind of get hooked.
You do. Also, I think, and I know this, I would be curious what other DJs think about this, because as a DJ, you're a music collector, and that's kind of what made me want to always DJ, is that you collected music and you want to play it for people. And so at what point will that subside?
At what point will the music you're collecting not be exciting enough for you to share it?
Yes, that's true.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Huh. Because
even for the years that I wasn't DJing publicly, I was still collecting music as if I were.
Yeah.
It was ready to go. And so as soon as I did have the opportunity, it was all ready to go.
See, it's